folks, Dave here, and I like taking apart knives. Kalashnikov, cousin to the Boker Strike, and cousin to another boy that is supposed to be arriving yesterday, but I understand the snow makes transportation difficult. The point of this is that what we are going to do today is clean this. So here I have a T8 driver. This is a single action, it's just a side opening automatic, where you push the button, the blade springs out, and you push the button to close it again. And it is full of nasty gunk. Now, before ever taking apart one of these side opening automatics, you shouldn't do that. I just care about myself less than I care about you, because I care about you, and I want you to be okay. But if you ever do, make sure that the blade is open so that it's not under spring tension. If this thing is closed and you try to take the scale off, that spring is going haywire and that blade is going into something. So make sure it's not going into you. Because again, that'd make me sad. So we've got a couple of T6 body screws because screw you. And here we go. That easy. So this is the inside of the scale. So there we can see the button, which is the locking mechanism. We're going to drop that solid piece of aluminum. So there's the springy boy. So what happens when this is locked is that button impedes the bottom part of that button. There's a little shelf down there, impedes the blade opening. You push that button, it depresses the shelf. You see that little shelf right there, kind of the bottom big portion of the button. That is what is impeding the blade, which sits on a spring, which is all kinds of deformed, which might explain a little bit of why I've been having problems with this. Also, we have a Teflon washer on one side. This is now the blade disassembled, and pardon me while I go in for a quick photo op. So I really do have no idea how this happened, nor what to do about it, although I do have a thought. I don't know if you can tell, but while the rest of the spring is supposed to be shiny stainless steel, it obviously isn't very stainless. So we are going to have to clean this to the best of our ability. I have had success in the past by soaking, I've never soaked a spring, but by soaking blades and the frame in a cup of vinegar. Or something like this. That would probably also work, but I also don't have vinegar on me. It's also only rusted on half of the side. That's very interesting. And even aside from it clearly being deformed, I can get a new spring for this, and probably will at some point, assuming that something I think is going to happen later in the year doesn't happen. But ooh, spoiler? That's the opposite of a spoiler. Stinger? I don't know what that was. Teaser! That's what that was. But again, I don't even know if that's happening. But, and so now I'm just wiping everything down because this is crusted and nasty. Don't let your knife get to this point. It's possible that it's my own fault for letting the spring get that way, but also that, again, shouldn't be possible. Because the spring just sits down in there. The only thing that the spring interacts with is the pivot, which it's wound around, that little slot right there, which is what holds it in place, and that hole, which is how it throws the knife. Very odd, and Although it's a testament that even as bad of a shape as that spring, literally, as bad of a shape as that spring is in, still wasn't terribly... Still fired. That's what my problem is. That's why I've got so much lock stick, because the lock is super rusty. That will do it. And make the internals of this thing out of D2. What is this? I know that during my work week I've talked about how rustifying my job generally is, which is very true. I have a very rustifying job, very oxidational. However, this knife is not a part of that. This was in use in a previous line of duty where that was much less the case. So how did this get so trashed? I will never know. Haha! It has the D block. So this is a captured pivot. Always a good thing to see, and honestly the bare minimum for what we should expect from budget knives. Any knives, really. So now that everything is clean, not fixed, because that's not really something I can do at the moment, we are now going to put everything back. That little slot goes in the little slot. Pivot goes in the pivot. There we go. Now, oh, also got to clean that spring because that is crunchy, that is. Look at my fingers. That's so much rust. This is very disappointing. I am glad that I'm finally getting around to cleaning this thing, but I am disappointed at what I've learned. So, now is the part where I try to remember what the best case scenario for putting this together is, because I never can. Here you can see on the inside of the blade all of the terrible scrapey that's been happening. These, again, being budget knives, are not made with the best of QCs always. I have another Kalashnikov that is just terrible, but apparently even the good ones aren't super good. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put the knife back on the pivot, line up that hole with that bar in the spring, and try to twist it. It's a little bit like going fishing. Being perfectly honest, I actually already did it a couple times to prove my concept before doing it on camera. And now I gotta do it again. Haha! Did it. So now, that bar is in the hole. Now we're gonna put the spring on. Put the spring on! I've tried to take apart my Gerber 06 Auto several times, which works under similar mechanisms. Alright, okay, we're fine with that for the second. Works under similar mechanisms, but because there's so much more material, I think it's because there's so much more material involved in it, it is a proper pain to put right. So much so that I thought that the knife had malfunctioned, and Gerber sent me a whole new one. And then I realized, oh no, I just did it wrong because I'm an idiot. For those interested, this is just cheapo knife lube. And now we gotta put the button back on. And kinda gotta trust that it's in the right spot. Now's where we come to the part of the story where it is always understood, though never appreciated, why you really aren't supposed to do this by yourself. That is to say, taking apart especially an automatic knife. Wherever there are springs attached to sharp things, there are dangers. I'm gonna put a whole bunch of oil on this spring because it's dead and dying. And that seems like a reasonable response. But wherever there are springs and sharp things, there's danger and there's delicacy. And as robust as this thing is when put back together, it is finicky to make it so. And eventually, by sheer dumb luck and trying to do it 1,000 times, and finally got it where the button is back in its proper place and is no longer crunchy, which is absolutely a good thing. We are going to put the pivot back in to lock everything down. Whew. And all the screws go back in their place. All the screws go back in their place. So we have learned is not to take apart an automatic knife. Alright, that is pretty well in place. I am now going to take this back out now that there's no danger of everything exploding. Less danger, I suppose. Where'd it go? There it is. This blue glue stick is Loctite. The blue stuff specifically. Don't ever use the red unless you're okay with whatever screw you're using becoming more permanent than family attachments. Blood may be stronger than water, but red Loctite is the strongest of all. No, pivot. You behave. There we go. Alright, is that too tight? That is solid. Before, when it was crunching, it was just because it was dirty and disgusting and needed to be cleaned out and might be broken. But now, it's crunchy because it's rusted and malformed. Nice and solidly built. That is how you disassemble, clean, and reassemble a Boker Kalashnikov side opening automatic. Specifically, of course. If this has been helpful for you, let me know. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know those down below. And other than that, y'all have a great day.